Stargate Finance Community Call, where we discuss proposals and ideas that help shape and govern the Stargate protocol. Feel free to join the conversation on stage anytime you have a question by clicking the raise hand button at the bottom of the screen. You can also chime in through the voice text channel in Discord or any other chats that are for those listening in on YouTube and Twitch, as those channels all aggregate together. And just a reminder, this is not financial advice, accounting, or legal advice. Please do your own research. All right. Happy 2023, everyone. I know 22 was a wild year for a lot of us. 23 is here. Hope you're all doing well. Had a good time over the holidays. I was able to hang out with some friends, family, and enjoy some food, hopefully, as well. I know I overindulged a little too much, but that's how it goes. But as far as looking back here as a wrap up on 22, if we look at back at December, if we look at our Stargate stats there, another all-time high for monthly transactions. So seeing 319,000, almost 320,000 transactions just in December alone. And still with that steady volume, just over 400 million transactions happening there. So really looking forward to more of this coming forward here as like more integrations are, coming up. There's a lot of stuff happening throughout, that happened in December here that's, going to drive us forward for further stuff here into the new year. And for example here, the next thing that we want to discuss is like the Metis deployment. There we're bringing a whole new chain is now going to be available through Stargate. Metis had put that proposal up a while ago. That passed. Everyone was very excited about that. Going to be having USDT pools. So those will be connected on Ethereum, BNB, Avalanche, and Metis. And there's going to be incentives through Metis for rebates. So you'll have bridging rebates when you're going to or from. Is it both to and from Metis? Max or Primo? I can't remember here. Just off the top of my head.
So the proposal structured from them that there will be clear rebate on the sort of 6 basis points of fees of federal charges that will be given out in Metis itself, that will be distributed every 2 weeks, and then moving towards an automated system. So it's essentially free or no cost or cost rebated to explore that chain. As well as the fact, as you point out, they're incentivizing liquidity on all of the pools with, their actual Metis token as rewards rather than STG or any other reward.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that's, it's super exciting. At least like it gives, if you haven't been over to Metis yet, like it gives you that opportunity of saying like, hey, at least I'm coming here and I'm not just like risking something on my own. It's like, I'm going to get rebated for coming here. And I mean, between networks, and I'm sure it's going to be, relatively, I'm curious to see like what the costs are to actually move over there. But my guess is that it's going to be, very just as cheap as any of these other networks. So,
the cost is exactly the same as moving through any other network on Stargate. And I think there's a large amount of utility unlocked because Metis is a layer 2 roll-up, similar to Optimism or Arbitrum. So we see a lot of usage from those, from users on those layer 2s trying to get not only to, but from them, and not having to wait for that 7-day bridge time. So
very good.
We're excited about unlocking that for the Metis ecosystem.
Absolutely, yeah.
And everyone from Metis building on top of Stargate as well.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, because now that unlocks a whole new subset of builders as well that wants to, to get into, accessing the Metis ecosystem as well. So yeah, that's this is going to unlock a whole lot of stuff here. I know a lot of people are excited about roll-up seasons and things like this. So hopefully that plays right into that. And there will also be a Metis APD pool, or APD pools rather, between Ethereum, BNB, and Metis. I think that's just the 3 that they're doing for now. But so that's sweet. So you'll be able to move your Metis around. And deployment will be this month here in January. So really looking forward to that. And of course we'll there'll be announcements around that as as it develops and rolls out. But yeah, and I think like that you were mentioning there too, the rebate for that bridge volume will be every 2 weeks for transfers to and from Metis, and that'll be airdropped as Metis on Metis for any of the users. So yeah. Keep your ears out for that one. Another thing that we had going was Atlantis Loans integration. Now that was essentially a widget there that allows its users to easily access its lending and borrowing markets across several different chains. So great to see some other, more and more protocols just giving that functionality, that availability to access Stargate in such a really easy, seamless way, to be able to keep their user retention and just still be able to utilize the convenience of Stargate right from within their own platform. So absolutely love to see that. And I'm sure there's going to be more and more as it rolls out, just how convenient it is. And then we've got some layer 3 quests. Of course, we had that. We had one back in December. There will be another one coming up soon. Just working out some final details on that. And also, if some of you noticed, if you were doing some of this back at the end of the year, there was an Arbitrum holiday quest that involved us using Stargate for requiring you to LP on it. So there was a few different things that you had to do, and Stargate was in there as one of them. So it was pretty cool to see. And we're just going to look to see how we can adjust some of the quests and see if there's ways to try and make it a little more available to everyone. Doing what we can here. We'll shift things around just to see if there's a way to make it a little more fair or accessible. But please be patient with us, and hopefully we can make this work. Make this work for everyone and get as many people involved as we can. And then just to recap here on SIP number 19 and 20. So that was around protocol rebalancing. So of course the balancing from 19 was completed, restoring protocol to the ideal balance. And then continued balancing with SIP 20 is ongoing by the foundation. So that's like allowing for significant fees to be captured. Which is then directly going back to the protocol and liquidity, which is like one of the, that's like the main goal here is to be able to grow that protocol and liquidity, and then, the protocol being self-sufficient, right? So, there was, a great amount of fees captured there. And, there's going to be some reporting coming in on this as well, in middle of January. And then there'll be monthly reporting on this as well, just to keep track of this kind of stuff so that people can, realize like, hey, this is like what rebalancing can do for the protocol, and just to keep it in check and making this protocol work as seamless as possible, and giving the users the best experience as well. I don't know, Max, if there's anything else further you want to add to that.
No, I think you nailed it. I think the idea that the protocol can continually work towards sitting in an optimal state where liquidity can be utilized again and again creates the best experience for users using Stargate by keeping fees low and allowing for less liquidity to be needed to actually service the protocol, which results in exactly what the community voted on, which is a reduction of emissions. And I think on a monthly basis, Stargate is working to reduce monthly emissions. And then as well, as you point out, it is a way for POL to grow as these EQ fees are captured by the Stargate Foundation on behalf of the Stargate DAO. And as you point out, transparency reporting as voted on is important so that everybody can track exactly what's going on, how funds are being utilized, and where everything sits at any given time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, awesome. So with like I said, like I was mentioning there, those are up and running, and doing the work to help the protocol. And another one here as well was SIP 21, and that was with the improved DPEG protection. That's just making Stargate more resilient and more robust. So if you want, you can follow up on look back at SIP 21 as to how that all worked. But again, all of these little improvements to just make Stargate as efficient as possible, making it the place that people want to come to. They feel safe. They know they're getting amazing prices. They're able to move quickly. The convenience is here. Like this is, this is Stargate's aim is to be number one. That's what it's all about. So. All right. As we move into proposals, so we've got SIP 25, if we could touch on that one. So that's the market maker proposal, and that one is revised here. So SIP 24 came out, and just having a little more further clarity in this proposal, it looks like. So I just wanted to really stir up some conversation around this one, just as it was a very close vote before. However, I think it was at like 61%, and now with the recent changes to the threshold and to quorum and everything, it needed to have 70%. So we were still in favor. There was most of the community was in favor of this proposal, but it just didn't quite reach that threshold of 70% voting in favor. So just wanted to like really bring that up again here. It seems like the proposal's up. So like. Just fleshing out any of the concerns or questions from the community around this, how they feel about it. And just like understanding, further, like, why this is important. I mean, centralized exchanges still play a very large role in, accessibility for people to get to these tokens. We're still seeing it, even after everything that's gone on here, but I mean, there's still people have access through places like Binance and Coinbase and Kraken and Huobi. There's a whole bunch of different places that people are still going. And having a market maker that can allow that access for people, does make it pretty. It's just a necessary. It's a necessity. So. Yeah, it also like gives. Yeah. Go ahead, Max.
I'm happy to expand on it a little bit. As mentioned, I think there was clear conversation feedback within our community, and from a number of people here on the call post SIP 24 failing to reach quorum. To be very clear, it did pass, meaning a majority of people voting were in favor for it, but didn't reach, our sort of threshold around what a vote needs in terms of number of people voting for it to actually bring it forwards. So SIP 25 is attempts to clarify what a market maker actually does, which is providing liquidity on both sides of a book to make a book more liquid so that when somebody goes to buy or sell the token, they're actually able to without an enormous amount of slippage, which is highly encouraged by a number of centralized exchanges. And in fact, as SIP 25 states, not having a market maker on some exchanges can lead to tokens being deprioritized or delisted by those exchanges. And the thing that it also, does is it allows allows people to interact with the asset itself. So I think there was some clear confusion about how market making works, how market makers actually structure agreements, which is clarified in SIP 25. And to go over here is typically they take a call option on the token in exchange for providing the service. So you can either pay fees to a market maker for providing the service or give a call option against a token. I personally feel a call option is a positive thing because it aligns, the market maker with the protocol itself. So in SIP 25, the proposal is written that, a market maker will get a call option at a minimum of 80 cents per token, but obviously to not impact market integrity, the proposal doesn't state any given amount. But that means that the market maker could exercise and decide to give back USDC instead of the token itself at that price. But again, it creates alignment itself, and it also provides a necessary service, because whether we like it or not, and I'm a huge DeFi maxi, but as you point out, Tangle, a good number of people, primarily interact with tokens and protocols from a centralized exchange standpoint, and having access and liquidity for the STG token is something that clearly our community is saying is an important thing.
Absolutely. And even if like if in a beautiful world here, STG is their first interaction or it's like their first interaction to get them over to DeFi, right? They say, oh, what's this STG token? They find it or hear about it, and then they find it through a centralized exchange, and then realize, oh, wait a second, I can actually like use this token and transfer it between different networks through this, like, because it's an OFT. And then they learn about the protocol, and then they find, hey, wait a second, I can do everything I want to do on chain, and it brings them on chain. So even if it's for that too, like there's the accessibility and just exposure, I think is beneficial in that way. I think for a lot of us, we all started out on centralized exchanges and has brought us to DeFi. So yeah, I do think it is a necessary evil, if we want to call it, but it's definitely It's definitely needed.
Yeah, for me at least, SIP25 brought more clarity about what was trying to be achieved. But I think it's important that if people from our community don't have that clarity, that we comment about it, we talk about it, and get clarity on SIP25 through engaged discussion.
Yeah, absolutely. So please, everyone, if you can head over to Commonwealth, and I really appreciate to have. Full, thoughtful responses. There's no need for just like single word responses to this. That's really just noise. When we want to have like serious questions that people have about this, that we want to make sure that those get raised to the top, so that people are able to, that those do get surfaced and that those can be addressed, because this is what governance is all about. Where we're having, where we want to have this discussion to get to make proposals. To get them to the best form that they can be with the feedback from the community. So please head over there if if you've got some questions around this, or things that you like about this versus 24. Really, that's what we need out of this. Need the community there to be involved and engaged, and get that feedback. All right. I think we've kind of covered everything with that proposal. Any further questions or anything? Just keep an eye in here from the AMA text questions.
We got a bunch of hands raised too. Let's roll through the proposals, and then I think let's have some people up and have some open discussion.
Okay. Yeah, we'll rally through the others here. So, okay. All right, we've got. Another one that came up too was it was great to see from Name, or AKA Brutal Trade. He's had a proposal up a while ago too around the Reunit wallet, and he just posted around the Reuni airdrop. So he's planning to do that for STG, VE, STG, and AA STG holders. So that's pretty cool that. Seeing somebody that's utilizing Stargate and building out something here to kind of help the whole omni-chain community, essentially. Really pleased to see this, and it's great to see that there's like giving back to the Stargate community. So I don't know, that was wonderful to see. I'm sure we'll hear more about this. There was some stuff on Twitter as well from him. So. If you have a chance, check that out, and looking forward to it here for all that stuff. And then last thing here I wanted to look at was the Stargate monthly financial reporting. That was one of the proposals that came up from a community member here from Asymmetric DeFi. So they're looking to do providing monthly reports about the Stargate DAO, $12K a year, so $1K a month USD. Basically just like, doing, financial reporting. They've done some stuff here for, Aave and for Uniswap as well. I think it would be good if we had get some more feedback from people on like, what does the community want to see as far as yeah, like what kind of reporting they would like to see here, or what kind of details. So yeah, I think there's like some good stuff there that could be, it's great to see like the community, this is what we need here is like community proposals coming up saying, hey, this is something that, could benefit the protocol. What do you think of this? Here's what I want to do to execute this. So like, I really appreciate this proposal coming up, because this is like what we need, is having, asking the DAO for saying like, hey, what does the community think? Can we do this? What should this look like? And, do you find this valuable? So yeah,
I think,
go ahead.
I think with these type of proposals where somebody brings something up and says, I want to provide something, and they're requesting money from the community. And as with any request of money from the community, it's our decision as a Stargate community whether we want to do this or not. But I think it's really important that we have a discussion together about what we want out of this request. So this request is to produce, as you said, financial reporting on a monthly basis. What do we actually want to see in that report? What do we as a community feel is important to see? What would we like produced? And if we're going to spend the DAO's money to do this, do we feel this is a good use of it? And those are the questions sort of answered together. And I think strong and clear feedback and from everybody here is important to achieve that.
Absolutely. So yeah, if we can have people come over to Commonwealth and add your comments there around that, the things that you'd like to see with it, I think that would be really beneficial, just as Max kind of pointed out. And maybe let's bring some people up here on stage. I see there's a few hands. Let's see what, I'll bring a couple people up at a time here, and then we can kind of work from there. So Faust and EV. EV.
Hello, guys. Can you hear me?
We sure can. How are you?
Good, man. Thanks. How are you?
Yeah, doing great. You've got a question.
Yeah, so my question is maybe not relative to today's topic. I just wanted to ask, which engagement from the community you want to see? Is it maybe something in terms of creating content, or some YouTube videos about exploring the Layer 0 and the Stargate ecosystem?
Yeah, I mean, all of that.
Yeah, I mean, go ahead, Tangle.
Yeah, no, I was going to say, yeah, absolutely. Like, this is where any ideas that people have here, that they can bring them up to the community and say like, hey, what does the community want? What does the community need? And then be asking the DAO for. I mean, that's up to the community. So, yeah. And then it, of course gets voted in favor for. So yeah, if it could be any of that kind of stuff. And it'd be great to have, a whole wide myriad of different things that could come in here. But I'll let you go here, Primo, as well. I know you want to chime in.
I think in general, the best communities are the ones who drive interesting organic content, right? I think at the end of the day, people should be writing or making videos about this stuff because they find it to be super interesting, and their audience will in turn be engaged with it, and it'll be shared because people find that thing that they're writing about interesting, right? So I think there's a huge amount of surface area on the Stargate side that just hasn't been written about, and some of this is getting exposed now through data, and people are seeing more applications pick up, and they're seeing but the difference between when you take a generic kind of vanilla bridge of just move money over versus, hey, all these applications are building on top of this, all these people are running these things, actually a huge amount of Stargate volume is potentially going to be driven not from the Stargate UI, but from wallets and applications, all these other things doing it. So I think all of that sort of stuff is super interesting and not super well understood. And there's just only so much, there's only so many Twitter threads that I can make, right? So having people actually care enough or find it interesting enough to write about this stuff, and to really produce real content, that's something the community should embrace, because I think those things are just incredibly valuable to the end community as a whole. And so I would hope that people who are making real, genuine content and writing about this stuff, that the community kind of embraces that and you know kind of celebrates it. So yeah.
Guys, can I add one more quick question?
Sure.
Yeah, so recently you had these like quests with a layer 3.
Yes.
And I'm just wanted to ask, like, how you looking towards making something similar, but with more like social engagement, like for example, Galaxy campaign or the like Crew 3 quest, you know, something like that.
Yeah.
So the people, one more second. So the people from example Twitter that are not really like familiar with DAO voting, like something decentralized apps, something like that, so they can came to Stargate, see what is like how it looks from the perspective of the regular user, and then comment this like DAO voting and all of this stuff.
Yeah.
And I 100% like agree on that in general. I think the big thing about the Galaxy and the Layer 3 quests were like, I think the big thing that it showed is that there's like people are very interested in this stuff. You know, a couple 100,000 people sort of engaged with this and interacted, and so I think like that is an original touch point of like, okay, like people are interested in engaging. People like love the product. People are willing to actually like go and engage in this and kind of try it out. So I think like modifying that or trying to do something where the touch point is not just like one simple thing, but something that is more. Let's say this, there's a ton of different ways that we could make that experience more engaging. There's a ton of different ways that we could replicate something like that for content, for a bunch of other things. I think there are just, the community at whole is going to be way, way better of surfacing what actually would be cool there and what like would be interesting. And that's something that I would love to see on Commonwealth or just in general talked about as like, okay, if we're going to do something further, like what does it look like? What do the rewards look like? What, you know, everything about it. I think that's something that could be this whole much, much larger, you know, discussion that we could end up talking about for hours. But I think that's something where like the ideas of the community and just like a broader sense of what would actually be cool there or motivating is definitely the first and best step, is just like figure out what that actually looks like. And then we can figure out how together kind of make that a reality.
Yeah, absolutely. And then, you know, like you'd mentioned there, Evie, there's a few protocols that and platforms I've been kind of exploring and looking at here. I just didn't have as much chance over the holidays to kind of dive into a few more, but, you know, I've been getting a few pings from a few different places, but, you know, you'd mentioned, Quest 3, there's Link 3 was another one too. And some of these, like maybe just having kind of one or two off that are just doing, like you said, that kind of social engagement as well to get, you know, for the Twitter engagement, that's, you know, also there. I know people like doing on-chain activities, so that's kind of why we'd focused more onto Layer 3. However, it does allow for that. It is, you know, giving that Twitter engagement as well through Layer 3. You can set that up. But I know with some of these other ones, it does, push for that engagement there as well. But All right. Anything further there, Evie? Kind of cracking up there, like breaking up a little bit. But all good. I'll bring up a couple others here. We'll see if they've got things here for us, just as we see here. Fairmontiel. Hey. Fairmontiel.
Guys.
Hello.
Hi. I have a question. You know, I want to know if you have plans to expand to a different environments or ecosystems like Cosmos and something like that.
So like the way that, just coming up earlier is like Metis is the first new chain that's coming up. Stargate is a bit bound right now by where Layer 0 goes. So what that looks like at the moment is, 23 EVM chains, and then Aptos, and then possibly Solana and some of the others, Cosmos, all that stuff will come eventually. But right now, that's basically the limiting factor. If it is already supported by Layer 0, Stargate can go there, which is why it's going to its first new chain, the 8th chain. Definitely can. It's more of a question of like fragmented liquidity, right? So like one of the things about Stargate is you need to have liquidity in the pools. And so like when you go to some new chain, you need to incentivize or somehow get liquidity to be added there. And then basically tie in liquidity from the other chains. So it's important that when you do go to these ecosystems, they're like chosen kind of thoughtfully and ideally in a way that kind of minimizes the amount of emissions that need to come out of Stargate. That Stargate needs to emit to basically support this, right? Definitely can do, is happening. 8th chain is coming soon, but it's like there's some interesting calculus. And I think there's some cool stuff being talked about now about ways to just make that more efficient. So, can go to more places much easier.
Yeah, I think when you look at new chains, as well, a lot of the chains that Stargate may potentially go to are going to be chain driven, where Midas came and posted a proposal and said, we want you here and here's what we're willing to give for you to do that. And I think that that's a trend that we'll hopefully see continue from other chains that want Stargate to end up there, where they can offset the need for STG issuance or provide other incentives to STG, holders or to Stargate as a community and or Stargate as a protocol and incentivize Stargate actually going there and being on that ecosystem. Because as Primo said, liquidity fragmentation is a large issue where when you look at adding more chains, the volume generated by having the chain added needs to offset liquidity fragmentation as well as additional emissions for it to make sense on a long-term basis.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks very much. 10 Veer. You got something for us. Tanvir, anything? I think we've got one final request here. Oh, hello.
Hello.
Hi, Tanvir. Go ahead. Tanvir, have you got something for us? If not, HK Teach, have you got something? Yes, no?
I'm not English. I'm Bangladesh.
Okay. Have you got a question for us?
It's okay. It's if you type English and want to translate better, you can post it. Which channel did the questions get posted to in text?
Yeah, the AMA text question, or sorry, voice text channel. That's just above where the stage channel is. So if you want to type those questions, you can do that there, and the voice text channel.
Yeah, you can translate it out and drop it in text, and we'll answer it there. Thanks, man.
Cool. And HK Teach, have you got something before we wrap up here? No? Yes? No? All good. All right. I see something in here from Tsukiyomi. Up to now, Layer 0 Stargate, which is first to build on top of Layer 0, have received as one single team, while multiple protocols keep building on top of Layer 0. The relationship between Layer 0 and Stargate.
Sorry, one second. I was just reading the question. So basically, Layer 0 Labs is this entity that basically the team came out of, built kind of the core technology behind Layer 0, the protocol, built the original iteration of Stargate, kind of the protocol, the technology side. Largely like after post-launch, right? Stargate is issued, goes over to the DAO. Now everything runs through the DAO. So every major decision right now gets made through the DAO. How that actually gets executed, so like, let's say let's say Stargate has a new feature that the community basically says this would be a sweet feature. This is going to help Stargate win. This is going to generate volume, etc. Basically, proposal goes through, and then the development work right now is usually assisted by Layer Zero Labs. Anybody could do that development work. Like the DAO could decide basically for anybody to do that, but right now Layer Zero Labs has been like assisting with that side of things. In the same way as like oftentimes we'll try to put together like insights or track data or do things. Most of that we just open up and try to make public so everybody has access to it and people can make better decisions. But I think for now, like Layer Zero Labs is going to exist as this sort of like technology entity who does development and sort of helps in general. But every decision and everything around the DAO itself basically decides that. So if the DAO decides they're, new version, new feature, whatever, and somebody puts up, so this happens, you'll see on like Lido and some of the others where service providers, technology providers would basically bid and say, hey, we'll deploy Lido to Solana and we want a grant of, I don't know, $5 million or something, right? So all these people would kind of bid. And then the Lido DAO would kind of say like, okay, we've chosen this group to build this implementation of like staked Sol on Solana and so on. So ultimately the DAO has the choice, but that's the relationship now.
Yeah, and I think it's important to point out that there are various community-run projects like SCG Scan built on top of Stargate itself that are completely community supported. If we even the proposal that we were talking about, where there's a request to produce monthly financial reporting and data for the Stargate community, that's executed by the proposer. And as we see more and more proposals come forward, the proposer executes on that. So they're as long as the community decides it's something worth doing.
Cool. Well, yeah, I think that covers that. And then why you announced? Oh, and sorry, and YTOLP. That airdrop is from the Reuni wallet. That's something that's a totally separate project, just as we were talking about here, like STG Scan. So that's also from Name. So that's that's what that is referring to. So just to kind of clear that up for you, if you want, you can check that out. That is up on Commonwealth right now. That's public, that you can check that out, and it's also on his Twitter. So you can find that on Commonwealth. And then let's see, we've got we just and White Snow we talked about. Primo kind of brought up the discussion here earlier around going to other networks. Obviously, Stargate is it needs Layer Zero to be on that network in order to go there. So again, that's where like Metis being the 8th chain that Stargate has gone to. And again, any of these that Layer Zero is, any network that Layer Zero is on, that's will be available in the future. And then I see another one here about Tron. If the community wants to go to Tron, that would be, I guess like the community could put up a poll for that. Again, just having to figure out how that's all going to work with liquidity and things. That's always a good idea to kind of keep that in mind with any type of proposal as well. But I don't know, anything further here from anyone? Max or Primo, anything else to kind of finish up with here as we wrap up?
Give a run through, right? Like end of the year, or rather beginning of a new year. I think it's pretty interesting to just kind of like look back over like what has happened, like what went well. And I think it's just like crazy. I was reflecting a lot over the break and just like I still remember the day that Stargate launched and just like literally like very few expectations. We just built this thing and we were like very, very confident in why it mattered and was significantly better than what existed. And, had this idea that this could really like change the way that this stuff was done, and that liquidity would kind of be handled in a completely different manner, and like, you know, two years out than the way it was right now. And so like watching those first 2 weeks as TVL just like was going up and up and up, and all of a sudden you have like $4+ billion sitting in this protocol. It was just like super surreal, right? So like I think it's crazy now looking back from that moment of just like launching and having no expectations, but this idea to watching now where like Stargate has been dominating just like the pure number of messages, users, how many people are touching the protocol, just like, you know, dominating any other sort of solution around that in terms of bridging or anything else. You know, basically top 3 always in dollar volume, and that includes like even many of the native bridges, which is crazy. Largest DAO in the world according to Snapshot. Last 3 votes had 72,000, and 63,000 active votes. So if you put that in perspective, like the largest fully on-chain DAO is Uniswap, and they have 27,000 lifetime voters. And the largest single proposal turnout of like 5,800 people. If you look at the next largest DeFi protocol on Snapshot, not on chain, similar to Stargate, that would be Aave. 79,000 members, and the last 3 proposals each have like 6,000 active votes. So I think it's just been like really amazing to see how interested and motivated people have been around this idea, right? And so I think it's really important that like over the next 12 months, I think is going to be really critical stage where like as a protocol, we've always talked about, how does Stargate win, right? It doesn't win by just being the best bridge. I think that's helpful. But it's not like the users are sort of driving it on an individual basis. It wins long-term by like being the best bridge underlying that everybody interacts with, everybody taps into, that sort of is like wrapped by all of these other applications that sort of make it what it is. And I think this year is really like the year the protocol needs to focus on that. So I'm super interested in seeing like what comes out of sort of the entire process and the governance process around that framing itself. And really just like, how do you continue to increase efficiency of the underlying protocol to make sure that basically you continue to be chosen, to be wrapped, to be used by all of these external applications, to be the go-to. And I think security has been like the big thing relative to everything else. Like obviously Stargate has, had way more money in the protocol than basically anybody else has been around.
Oh, did we lose him? Or is it just me?
He's somewhere talking passionately into a computer, not realizing that.
Yeah, let's just give it a second here. Let's see. Is it working now? Max, you've still got audio?
I'm here. Primo just isn't. I think we're having a little bit of a memorial for him in the voice to text channel.
Hey,
there.
More efficient. Is my voice still not working?
There, now we got you. You got you. Not sure what happened. Right. We have you. So I'm not sure where we kind of lost you.
It's on. You're speaking on the computer, but I guess I'll just summarize very quickly with saying like that over the next year, I think really is going to be a turning point for the protocol. Is like how do you increase that efficiency? How do we keep growing protocol and liquidity while minimizing the amount of emissions that need to be given out? I think this Metis implementation is like an amazing start to that, because obviously like they have provided these incentives. They're going to be driving volume. They're going to be driving or providing TVL. So it's not Stargate sort of having these huge emissions, and yet we get volume, we get more ecosystem, we get a lot of this. And so I think what that looks like on an ongoing basis over the next year will be hugely important. I think SIP 20 with a foundation is sort of assisting with rebalancing. There's a world in some of these outlier events. The protocol would have captured $300,000 in a single short period of time of protocol and liquidity just from like rebalancing those and being on top of that. As is, it's already going to be possibly tens of thousands a month, even at like normal usage. That the protocol is just getting in like direct value and protocol and liquidity, which is like less emissions in future. So I think everything that can be done that can increase volume, decrease emissions, like this is going to be the year for that. And I know there are a lot of people have pinged me about things that they are thinking about ways to do this. But I think that will be like the biggest thing the community can do is continue to iterate on that will grow underlying usage. So tons of cool stuff happening. In reflection, the last 9 months have been insane. I think objectively, Stargate has done more than basically anybody expected it to, but there's still like a huge amount more that it can do. So yeah, I don't know. It'll be a fun year.
Awesome. Well said there, Primo. Encouraging words here for 23. So thank you very much for all of that. All right. Yeah, probably a great place to wrap it up there. Yeah, thanks everybody for coming out. This has been awesome.
We have a couple more questions.
Okay.
The voice text channel that happy to go through quickly.
Oh, sure.
Which I think we should address before we wrap up. There's a question around when using a bridge aggregator like Bungie, competitive bridges end up being used, and the question is why. Each bridge aggregator quote is unique and compares all bridges in the market at that split second in time. I can say from data that we see, Stargate is heavily used when comparing stables. It's the cheapest and most used bridge there in a lot of cases. We, as a community, should be continually looking at ways to make Stargate more competitive versus competitive set if that's not happening. So, for example, that's a piece of data that we could ask to be produced as a community to try and analyze. But I think the protocol should continually be looking at ways to be more competitive on a bridge aggregation standpoint. But we do get a good amount of volume through our bridge aggregation partners as is. So I think I'd just be careful around looking at singular data as sort of, a source of truth rather than a holistic picture of every transaction that's going through. And then Copperfield has a question about roadmap for SCG and long-term plans, as well as a request for more activity on the marketing side. I think I'm happy to talk about what my long-term vision is, which I think has happened before as a community member. I think the idea that Stargate gets to a spot where it has sufficient protocol and liquidity to support, transfers or usage of that liquidity transfer layer without the need for emissions is sort of the end game. And that's where the protocol is trudging towards it or going towards, marching towards. And I think things like the protocol liquidity transparency dashboard that's come out and other initiatives that will continue to shine, a spotlight on what the protocol has, how that POL is building. So an example, the rebalancing reports is an example of that. Will continue to show growth towards that end state. I think everything else is sort of a middle ground of how to get more volume, how to generate more fees to get to that end state where Stargate is this omnipresent building block within DeFi that people can compose on top of and know that there's liquidity always there to allow them to do whatever they're intending to build, be that omni-chain borrowing and be that, omni-chain yield aggregation, or any other use case that people can think of. And I'm really excited about all the teams that are building on top of Stargate to achieve some of those goals right now.
Wonderful. All right. Anything else from the community here? No, thanks very much, Max, for touching on those. Yeah, and then I see like some people talking about the Galaxy Passport and SBT. Yeah, there's a couple different things we've been looking at into this, and of course, once Guild gets the voice channel feature working again, that'll resolve a lot of things. That was working fantastic before, just waiting for them. So hopefully they've got that sorted in the next month or so. But yeah, all right. If nothing further, probably a great place to wrap it up here. This has been a long one today. A good way to start the year off here with a lot of engagement, a lot of questions. A lot of cool stuff coming. So thanks everybody. Stay tuned. Of course, if you're over in YouTube watching this at any time, please like and subscribe over there. And if you're in Twitter Spaces, thanks for joining us there as well. I see there's 150 over there today, so thanks again. We'll talk with you all here in a couple of weeks on the next call. All right. Further questions or anything, of course, bring it into Discord. Head over to Help Zone if you've got any questions that need one-on-one answering, or can kind of help you assist with some things and help you kind of figure out what you need. And of course, Commonwealth. Please head over to Commonwealth and Commonwealth/Stargate token, and you can find that directly from the Stargate.finance website. And please, feedback, engagement, all of that would be is very needed and very welcome. So come on in, and we'll see you over there. Thanks everyone for coming out. We'll talk to you soon. Ciao, ciao.